Meeting come to order, please. The notice requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act for this meeting have been satisfied. Would you please take a second, turn off all electronic equipment as we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Johanna, call the roll, please.
Mayor Becker,
Here.
Commissioner Amadeo, Commissioner Blumberg.
I am here.
First item on the agenda for discussion is regarding the municipal parking lot. However, Mr. Abbott had to leave. He'll be back in 5 minutes. So we will go to department head reports, and we'll come back to Mr. Abbott at the end. Frank, do you want to start?
Sure. We removed the rest of the steps down at the street ends at the bulkheads for the drainage system. We were putting back the Moby mats that were rolled up by the Army Corps engineer, and by Memorial Day weekend, we will have all the pedestrian walkways opened up and Moby mats on them. Last week, we planted about 1,000 flowers around town. We still have a bunch more. We started hanging the baskets today on the streetscape, and that'll be finished next week. We also installed a 2-inch water line at Thurlow and Ventnor Avenue, that humongous house there, and we fixed the water leak, and we're going around numbering our hydrants and tagging them so we can identify them better.
Anything else, Frank?
No, that's all.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Blumberg has a question.
Frank, what's the plan for the fountains? When are we getting ready to
We
do the
have to wait
fountains?
for all the pink flowers to fall off the trees because they clog the pumps up.
Oh, okay.
So they were totally redone, refurbished,
Right.
and they will be absolutely beautiful when we open them up this week.
Okay.
Coming.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Frank.
Yep.
Jim?
Nice job, Frank. Right now, we're just in the process of finishing up with demolitions, which is June 15th. The demolition stopped till September 15th. I don't think I think there's 2 more left that have to come down. The streets, we're trying to keep most of the streets with the existing lots that are torn down. We're going to revert them back to grass by ordinance. We cleaned up a lot of signs that were out on the streets this week, just left there. People were putting them up, trying to get free advertisement. We just take them down and notify them to come pick them up. And just another busy week. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Roger?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners. The zoning compliance inspections are really heating up. People want to get in their homes. I've had about 7 plans submitted this week for new homes or house lifts. House lifts are still occurring, and we're still going pretty good. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Ed?
Okay, the Beach Street End storm sewer system, all the pipes are in from Vendome all the way up to Clarendon. Claremont is missing right now, but that'll be done as soon as that the pole issue's resolved. The concrete contractor's following closely behind the pipe crews. There currently are 3 crews working today. The B streets are being done. The 2 A streets will follow. They'll start the A streets tomorrow. Then it would be, Fredericksburg would be the only one. Then it's cleanup and the concrete capping has to be done. They're moving quickly now. We were hoping to get them as complete as possible by the beginning of the season. So now the streets that are not tied into the Army Corps system, which would be everything from Mansfield to Ventnor, will still be operating under the temporary systems that the Army Corps has installed. Everything from Nassau to Vendome will be operating in the finished gravity system that has been installed by the Army Corps. So there's two systems that are in. System 5, which is Rumson to Vendome, System 4, which is Nassau to Quincy. Okay, they are set for all intents and purposes, pipe-wise, and all the connections to the street ends are done for those two systems. So that's the beach ends, and then I will reference a letter from the DEP that I received based on questions I asked that will give a better definition of what I'm talking about. The tennis courts and the basketball court at Union Avenue are complete. There are 4 tennis courts that we're looking to actually get done this year. They were originally scheduled for next year, but we believe we have room to do a change order to this contract and get those 4 courts. They're just going to be resurfaced, repaired and resurfaced. The 2 that were done were complete reconstructions. So that we're hoping will happen if the rain ever stops for this season. And the beach headquarters, the lifeguard headquarters is done. The city went down, did a great job redistributing the sand around there. There's a nice area there now, adjacent to the headquarters. The Army Corps and DEP permitted the city to redistribute one of the old dunes, and it came out really nice down there. It's worth taking a look at. And that's essentially, those are the contracts that are working currently. There would probably, other than the tennis courts, not be any additional work going on until the fall for the city. Now, there is a letter that answers questions. I sent several letters to the DEP. This is in response to one of them. I don't know if you want me to read everyone or just tell everyone it's on the internet.
That letter is on the internet now?
Yes, this
Or it's
page.
okay. Can I just interrupt you 1 second and explain to the audience what we're doing? We have been in contact for months with the DEP and Corps of Engineers. Just yesterday, or was it yesterday or today?
Today.
Today, we got a response. So Mr. Wahlberg is referring to questions that have been asked for the last, I think,
Yes,
March and April, and they're just getting responses to those questions.
These questions answer my letters of March 8th, March 15th, April 10th, April 17th, that we're finally getting answers to those letters that I sent. And the main body of that letter with all the answers is on our website, is on Margate City's website right now. So it's a rather lengthy page. I would suggest everyone take a look at it. And it calls out what we're going to be looking at for the summer. Now, relative to the project, like I said, the Army Corps, or Walters Marine, has completed drainage number 4. They are in the process, as of today, of starting to clean up the beach, demobilizing, getting their equipment, getting their materials, dressing up various locations to try to essentially be off the beach as soon as possible.
Can I interrupt while we're talking about the beaches? These letters were received today. We have written a letter, we being the commissioners, to the DEP, which will be going out tomorrow, asking for more information. Also asking them to come to Margate and have a public meeting so that the public can ask them questions directly. I can't share that letter with you yet. It hasn't been even mailed to them. They'll probably get it Monday. We'll put it up on the website on Monday, and you can look at it then. If you have any questions about that, you can certainly contact anybody, City Hall or the commissioners. And you want to go briefly over that a little bit?
Sure,
or-
I can.
Okay, why don't you do that?
Okay.
I assume you all are here about the dues.
Okay. The first item deals with the outfall system, which is System 4 and System 5. Those two systems are complete. So as you see them, as of today, is how they are. They are complete. And functioning, actually functioning very well. While they're aesthetically not pleasing, they really work well. I've had videos sent to me from 2 major rainstorms for 5 and for 4, and they work better than anticipated. The temporary 48-inch outfalls have been removed from Rumson, Pembroke, and Nassau. That is because they're no longer necessary because the live system is in. The temporary 48-inch remain at Lancaster and Jerome, but have been cut back and buried because in one of the nor'easters we lost a few of them. They're just leaving them in place because they will ultimately be replaced by the actual drainage system. So they're there, but they're cut back and buried. The temporary, what they refer to as the temporary critically silenced pumps and their discharge pipe and pit will remain at Fredericksburg, Argyle, Clarendon, Douglas, Exeter, Frontenac, Huntington, Jerome, and Lancaster. The Army Corps of Engineers and their contractors will continue to maintain them, fuel them, and monitor them through the summer. And that will be done by means of a pickup truck. So we won't see a large truck or anything. It'll just be a pickup truck that they'll use on the beach. The 9 remaining pumps will run twice a week on a maintenance cycle, Thursdays and Fridays from 9 a.m. to 9:30. If there is water in the sump, it'll be discharged at the output end at that time. If there isn't, they're just going to run the engine to make sure that they're maintained. The dune at Washington will be reconstructed and a temporary crossover built for the summer. The bulkhead opening that is currently there will remain open for the summer. The dune stockpile area, with a stockpile only on the seaward side, Cedar Grove, Benson, Decatur, Madison, Monroe, and Coolidge. The Army Corps of Engineers and their contractors will construct crossovers up the permanent dune landward side and on its crest. The contractor will construct temporary graded sand crossovers over the dune stockpile portion. In the dune stockpile area, with a stockpile only on the seaward side, Vendome to Washington, Madison to Coolidge, the Army Corps and their contractors will install sand fence along the permanent dune's leeward toe. In the dune stockpile area, with stockpiles on both the landward and seaward side, that's Washington, Adams, and Jefferson, the Army Corps and their contractor will construct temporary graded sand crossovers over the entire dune stockpile. In the dune stockpile area with stockpiles on both landward and seaward side, Washington and Madison, the Army Corps and their contractor will install sand fence along the temporary dune's leeward crest to minimize the effect of wind-blown sand. By June 28th of 18, the Army Corps and their contractors will complete Nassau outfall system, which actually is completed today, so they're well ahead of schedule. And all construction features previously stated. The Army Corps and their contractor equipment and outfall material shall be completely demobilized from Margate. So the 28th deadline is that's the drop dead date. I suspect they will be off before that because of they're so far ahead of schedule with the construction on System 4. Margate is able to rake the beachfront per the beach management plan and is responsible for maintenance of the completed crossovers. Any scarps caused by winter coastal storms can be knocked down prior to beach raking season. Margate may begin preparations for the summer season anytime or anywhere outside the delineated active construction zone of Nassau outfall system. As stated in the previous letter, they've turned over the maintenance of the Vendome outfall system 5 and they expect to send a similar letter upon completion of outfall system 4. And I suspect there is another walkthrough that will take place after that.
Thank you, Hank.
Okay.
Just to give you an idea of what that response is, and I think we'll be talking about that again before the day is over. Rich, do you have anything for us today?
Nothing nearly as important as that, Mayor. Very minor thing. Wawa wants to put T-shirts onto their employees and they're doing this in all the towns up and down the coast. And the T-shirts would have an emblem on it, which would be the beach tags from all the towns up and down the coast. There's one here with a picture of one with Avalon. We don't own those rights by copyright or anything, and they're not selling them, they're just using them for their employees, which kind of ties them into Ocean City and Sea Isle City and Avalon and all the towns up and down the coast. So I don't see any reason why
Okay with that?
we would have any
We're good.
objections,
We're
so.
good.
They need it in writing, Rich?
Excuse me?
Do they need it in writing?
I don't know, they sent it to the clerk and she asked me to show you this today. She can respond in writing, I think, just by email, I believe. The only other thing, I'm going to defer to the finance director when it's her turn, but as you know, there's a capital ordinance on the agenda for first reading. Each year we do at least one, if not two, capital ordinances to fund the major projects for the season. And she will briefly explain that, Lisa will, when it's her turn. As you know, the operating budget is in place. There's only 3 ways we can appropriate money, and until we appropriate money, we can't spend money. One is the annual budget, one is the capital ordinance, and another is the any emergency that we might have. So the capital ordinance is on the agenda for the 5 o'clock meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Chief?
We are in the process of notifying all homeowners and contractors who currently have dumpsters or pods on the street that pursuant to the new ordinance, they have to be removed or placed on private property by Memorial Day. So we're in the process of doing that. That's come under my purview in the last year, which seems to be working out really well. We're also in the process of preparing our plans and manpower issues for Memorial Day weekend, so we don't have a repeat of what we had last year at Wawa. Along those lines, last meeting, we discussed about putting police officers back at Wawa. My personnel have spoken to them. They've actually hired private security this year in a cost-cutting move, but it'll kind of relieve us a little bit, and we'll work in conjunction with them. Other than that, everything's good.
Thank you, Dave. Lisa?
Good afternoon. As Rich had mentioned, on the agenda today for introduction are 2 capital ordinances, one for our general capital, which will be $2,150,000, and our utility capital is $1.4 million. Our second reading will be at the first meeting in June, which I believe is the 7th. And they will become effective 20 days after publication, after the second reading. So that should be sometime towards about the 3rd week in June, depending upon when it's published. General capital, it is below what we ordinarily authorize. Or the prior years, we've authorized $3.5 million. This is $2,150,000. There is a possibility of another ordinance being introduced later this year for municipal upgrades, to our municipal building, but that is being reviewed currently. And this ordinance includes equipment for the various departments, some improvements to some of our facilities, additional funding that was needed for our 2016, 17, and 18 road programs, feasibility studies, GIS mapping, as well as the utility ordinance redevelopment of well number 8, Burke Avenue improvements, and painting, exterior painting for the Benson Avenue tank, and a few other ancillary projects. Our supplemental debt statement I prepared and submitted to the state as required. Copy is on file in the clerk's office as required by the state. And we're allowed to authorize by law 3.5% of our average equalized value of the 3 prior years. And if you're interested, the equalized value, average equalized value is $3,958,291,510. And we are well below what we are allowed to carry in debt. And the net debt currently is 0.98%. So we're in good shape. I can get this up on the website if anyone's interested in seeing the supplemental. Our annual debt statement should already be up there. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
All right,
And
Mark, we're good.
the only other thing I wanted to point out is that our auditors began their field work on Monday. They'll be in for the next few weeks, and our audit report is required to be due or filed and completed by June 30th. So I will keep you updated as to the progress of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple things from the fire department. One, we continue to have our call volume be approximately 100 call responses over 2017 so far in 2018. Not really sure the increase, what it's caused from or what it's from, but we definitely have seen an increase in calls and responses. 2 things on an FMBA agenda. One, they were looking, and they sent an email out today about the scholarship for the FMBA, and they're looking for a commission meeting date for June. So I don't know if we can try and put that on the agenda for the 7th or the 21st, whatever is easier for you guys. But they would like to do that to present the annual FMBA scholarship.
Why don't you check with the clerk?
Okay.
Okay.
Will do. And then secondly, they had sent an email out to try and get authorization, and I'm not sure if it went to everybody or not, but they're looking to do on June 29th, have the AMI mammogram bus come to the fire department parking lot and have it set up from 9 to 3. Obviously, if someone wanted to utilize it, they'd have to schedule it, but they have some other health type things that would be available to the public. And they were just seeking information and approval for that as well. And if we can work that out.
You've got it.
Okay, perfect. And on a final note for the beach patrol, I've been working with Chief Smallwood to assure that everything's going to be up and running and ready for Memorial Day weekend. I sent it out, and I'm not sure if I included everybody, but I will double check. Some beach signage recommendations that are coming from the GIF that we're going to have to work through and work together to make sure that that's done properly. And I know Greg's already been working with Public Works to assure that the signs that we've already gotten for 2018 are going to be taken care of. But that's it for the fire and beach patrol. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
At the beach, are we going to be able to offer assistance to people across the dams?
We are, and we have in the past, and I believe, Rich, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have signed a lease agreement to get that additional vehicle, and that's part of the reason was to assist with us with getting people across. I think this year is going to be a learning curve for all of us as far as what it's going to entail, but I would see a definite increase in that, and I know that that's something that has been long discussion between Commissioner Amadeo and Chief Smallwood, but I'm sure that they will take care of it, and we will provide the assistance of whatever is needed to assure that our beach patrons get to the beach and have a wonderful time at the same.
Thank you, Dan. Mari, do you have anything?
Nothing to report.
And I have nothing. The normal procedure at this point is we'll open public comment. Forgot Scott, didn't I?
Very briefly,
Sorry. Thank
3
you.
ordinances. One is for a utility easement for the electric company that will be servicing at least the former Captain Andy's location. I don't know if it services Integrity or not. The electric company asked for it. That's what that ordinance is. We also were asked to tweak our flood damage prevention ordinance. I thank Mr. Galantino and Mr. McClernand. They assisted me on that. Also, Palma was a big help too. We made those changes, and that's why you're seeing that there. Finally, there's an ordinance vacating 3 foot of a portion of Amherst Avenue to facilitate the redevelopment of what we knew as Captain Andy's. That was part of the project that was presented and approved by the planning board. So that ordinance is required. It's a vacation of 3 foot for the length of that property to allow their structure to be built as proposed and approved. Finally, not on the agenda, I received an email. I believe I've sent it out to you. I know I got it to Roger and to Johanna. the owner of the lease of the municipal parking lot on Washington Avenue. He has about half of it. It was a 25-year lease with about 11 years left. It was to service, I believe, the real estate building. He has asked permission to allow him to sublet or allow utilization by the miniature golf course, which is currently under construction. I've looked at the bid specs, looked at the lease. I don't see any specific prohibition as to any subletting or as to what he could do. It would seem that the hours that the miniature golf course would want to have parking there are different than what their real estate office people would be. You know, they're there during the day, work day. These people there towards the evening on the weekends. We'll take a closer look at it. I'll have a memo to you for our next meeting and get comments from everybody to see if that's what you want to do or not. But it would seem to be just kind of in our objective to have dual use of existing parking lots. And if I recall, there were some people expressed concerns about lack of parking. Well, here's, I guess it's what, 12 spaces maybe, 10 or 12 spaces that he could use. It's a block away. They'll have to walk past 2 Cents Plain. They'll be close to the yogurt place. They'll go past Heritage. And so I think it would probably be a good thing for the commercial district. But I'll give you a memo on it for next meeting.
Thank you much, Scott.
Thank you.
Okay. At this point, we'll open to public comment. 3 minutes. You may come to the microphone, state your name and address. You have 3 minutes to discuss any topic that was discussed at this meeting. So I will open to public comment. Is there anyone who would care to address the board?
Sewell, 22 West Drive. Comments following Ed's remarks about the pumps and the testing and the maintaining. Is this perpetual, or is this just going to be for a little bit, and then we're going to be bagged with these costs?
You want your
Okay,
do your
stop.
3? No, we're not going to. John, use your 3 minutes and then.
All right,
Ed will
answer when I'm finished. I'll give you another question.
Okay.
Okay. If you recall, there was serious concern about having a backup system, because if the electricity goes out citywide, I would urge that the Army Corps of Engineers install a backup gas generator to run those pumps, and they would be remiss if they didn't do so. Now, you can answer those questions concerning,
Okay, these are temporary pumps. After the season, the Army Corps will remobilize their contractor and finish the other 3 drainage systems, all which work by gravity with no additional pumps. And they already have backup.
fair enough. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Come forward, state your name and address, please.
Bob Gendelman, 11 South Vendome. My complaint today is about the outflow pipe and the structure and how ugly it is. And my suggestion is if we can maybe put rocks around it, make it look like a rock jetty, at least, make it a little bit more eye appealing. That's one thing. And I understand that certain beaches don't have any more handicap access on the side areas where they used to have. It's been taken away, like on Adams. Is that correct?
No.
So, okay.
The existing structure, the handicap access cut-through is there,
Okay.
okay? The same as it always has been. The Adams is one of the beaches that'll have a temporary crossover this year because there are temporary stockpiles of excess sand which will be necessary to finish the drainage project in the fall, okay? But there were no handicap cut-throughs eliminated in this project. There are 4 official handicap crossover ramps in the city. That's what the federal law required. We have 24, 22, 20, and I have 2 more funding for 2 more of those openings. The difference between the handicap crossovers and the standard crossovers is that the handicap crossovers are on a 1 to 12 slope. The standard crossovers are a 1 to 7 slope. They're not that different, okay? However, The handicaps have railings, the non-handicaps just have split rail fence.
Okay.
Okay?
Getting back to the rock jetty, who can we challenge on that? How can we get that done?
We're preparing a letter, Bob, to send to the DEP and probably go out tomorrow. We really can't talk about it because they haven't received it yet. One of the things we're going to talk about is the way the beaches look, so that will be addressed.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, Hal Augustine, 8 North Pembroke. I know, Mike, we've talked a little bit about access to the beach, and I understand that's under discussion. But I would like to hear what you guys are thinking about. One of the recommendations I had was to extend the access mats to go up and over the dunes like they did in Longport. Because the sand is about this deep.
The sand?
Sand's coming off. Go ahead.
The sand on those access ramps will be removed. Underneath, that's just sand that has blown on there. All of the crossover ramps constructed by the Army Corps of Engineers are constructed of I-5 gravel, okay? So chances are, if you keep going over, you'll hit the gravel. It's hard packed, it's very easy to walk on. That has to be cleared off because the dune grass hasn't been established yet. And the city actually has purchased machines to help to assist with cleaning those ramps. But the crossovers will not have sand on them.
They won't.
Okay, they may at some point a little bit there.
Right.
You're looking at a winter's worth of sand that has blown on them.
Right.
They will be much easier to walk over than they are with the sand.
Okay, my second question, thank you. My second question is, could you be more specific about which beaches will be open for Memorial Day weekend?
For lifeguards, you mean, or?
I mean, open, like right now, Margate is closed off, a bunch, Pembroke rather, there's several streets in either direction that are
Well,
roped off.
they're working on the drainage system.
Right, which supposedly was
Should be
finished
done.
today.
Right.
So assuming that that's correct, and I think it will be, there'll be no work on the beach, that all beaches should be open.
That would be
Yeah.
great.
Yes.
And my last question in my last minute is, I had the opportunity to take a walk on the beach at high tide. And at high tide, there are some beaches where there's only 30, 40 feet of beach left.
Okay, I haven't looked at it, like, to be honest with
You
you.
guys should, because the question is, if that's accurate, if that's not an unusual occurrence, what can we be doing about that?
Do you recall where?
Pembroke.
Okay, well.
And also at, what's the street just north of Washington? Ocean
Adams.
Heights.
Adams.
Oh,
Cater
just
also.
north? Okay.
So we have
No, it'd be,
several, I don't know if anyone else has a, so there's several instances of that where.
There's excess sand piled. Those, and if you would go on the website and look at that letter, and I don't recall which one it is, but several areas have excess sand piled beyond the existing dune, okay? And what they need that for is when they put the drainage systems in, they are filling the area behind the dune to the same elevation as the area, shut it off, Rick.
You got it.
Give me my 3 minutes.
You're on.
It'll be filled to the same elevation as the beach on the ocean side of the dune. Previously, there was a discrepancy
Yeah,
of
I
2 to 3
noticed that
feet.
that's up, yeah.
That's all gonna be filled level.
we'll be fine.
But it's the other side where we're at.
Well, that's, like I said, there's there's excess sand
So
piled
there'll be-
there. It'll go away. It'll be taken to somewhere up
I got you.
the beach and put
Okay.
behind the dunes.
Okay, thank you. Next, please.
I'm Alice Kalish, and my husband Steve and I live at 111 South Exeter. We took the following measurements of the dune ramp out South Exeter Avenue. The street side ramp length is 40 feet, which equals an incline of 20.5 degrees. The oceanside ramp length is 50 feet, which equals an incline of 16.3 degrees. The degree of incline of these ramps is nowhere near the ADA acceptable maximum of 4.78 degrees. Our daughter has MS. And our 16-year-old granddaughter is a heart and kidney transplant patient and has an above-the-knee amputation. They are both wheelchair-bound. None of us is able to push a wheelchair-bound person safely up the ramps at the current angles of incline. In addition, because of health considerations many times a day, we are required to return to our home from the beach for the purpose of taking care of personal and medical needs. We must use our private facilities for this rather than being forced to use often overused public facilities that also lack refrigeration. Returning to our home on South Exeter from South Huntington, where there is an ADA ramp, repeatedly during the day, given the distance between the ADA ramp at South Huntington and our home, is an extreme hardship. For the South Exeter ramps to be ADA compliant, the ramp length for a straight ramp must be 168 feet from ramp bottom to top. It is possible to accomplish this at the South Exeter Beach entrance without building switchbacks. So we would like to know what steps must be taken to have our South Exeter street side and ocean side ramps redesigned and constructed to meet the ADA accessibility parameter of 4.78 degrees of incline.
Why don't you add that to the list of things that we were, and Alice, you and I have had this conversation before, and we're here to give you whatever assistance you need. You can be assured of that, okay?
You're aware that essentially, the Army Corps has dictated there's only 4 ramps that were required. Okay. We have argued that point several times. We will continue to argue that point to try to get one there.
Please do. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice. Anyone else, please?
Emily Zaydan, 6 South Decatur Avenue. Quick question on the Decatur Avenue entrance to the beach. If you could dispel or confirm the rumor that there won't be a walkway because that's where the trucks go to every morning, the rakes and whatnot? I mean,
Decatur?
Decatur. Yeah, I mean, how are the trucks, right now there is nothing but that big, huge hump.
And I have to look at the plans, to be honest with you.
Frank,
It's
actually, there's a handicap entrance right there for Lucy.
Right.
Okay, so that's basically what we use for pedestrian crossing.
Right. But as far as the Army Corps' crossover,
Right.
I thought they were supposed to put a handicap crossover there.
Right.
I'll have to, let me
Yeah,
look to
because
see.
the trucks,
Now,
that's
there
the
has
only
to be a-
entrance,
no,
right?
There is a crossover at every street end,
Okay.
whether we have that or not.
Right.
Okay. But let me look at the plans. I'd like to tell you I have them all memorized, but I don't.
Okay. no problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. You'll get back to her.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ellen Lichtenstein at 411 North Exeter. I know you've all been working at this diligently. The complaint isn't here, but I think that Alice spoke to an issue that's more prevalent than anybody realizes. We very often have people who are capable that have been rendered incapable now. I don't believe the city fire department and the beach patrol can handle such a degree of elderly and handicapped and incapable people to get over the dunes anymore. The confusion comes in the fact that we have handicapped accessible beaches, but now we don't because of the dunes. I think that we have an ADA compliance issue here, citywide. I think that they have not just ruined our pristine beaches, but have handicapped the entire city. There's no possible way that the number of people that need to enter on a grade can get into 4 beaches. We already have a problem parking in Margate. We really need to take huge control of this and wrestle them to the ground. The Army Corps of Unengineers is a shanda to all of us, and I think that we have been abused.
Thank you, Ellen. That will be on the table as we get our meeting, believe me. Anyone else?
Jay Weintraub, 10 North Franklin Avenue in Margate. 23 years ago, my wife and I, after renting for many years, bought a home. And we were fortunate enough to move in with a 6-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1.5-year-old. We raised our children down the shore every summer. No one went to camp. Great beaches. A year and a half ago, our beaches were magnificent. And there's been a major change in our beaches. It's nowhere near what we had. And it was forced upon us. We had no choice. The big guy up in Jersey said, what Trenton makes, the world takes. Well, he gave it to us. Whatever that might have been. But now we're faced with a situation with flooding problems. We're faced with handicap problems. We're faced with situations as we get older, as we age, as our community is aging, that people can't get to this beach. We're now faced with a situation of these outfall pipes, which have industrialized our beaches and taken away that beauty that we once had. And it's going to create a problem with traversing the beaches, going up and down the beaches, walking. How do we get there? What happens when we take a walk and all of a sudden, an hour later, we get to our beach and we can't get there because the pipe is blocking us and the water's up to here? That creates a problem. People have brought up the subject of a boardwalk. It's been a long time since we've had a boardwalk in Margate. I support that idea. I think it could solve a lot of these ADA issues. It helps us to get across the dunes. It'll make a much more family-friendly area for people to be in. People will complain. 50 people along the beach, which do not represent the majority, may complain, I lose my privacy. But everybody has to walk up their beach block anyway to get to the beach. So what loss of privacy? So perhaps we can find a way to stop this project and say if we got $10 million or $12 million from the Army Corps to create this drainage system, stop. Find a way to stop it and say if there's $8 million left, can we divert that to a boardwalk system that would benefit all? Venter does not have an outfall system. They have the percolation under the boardwalk. The boardwalk created a great natural drainage ditch, and they did not destroy their beaches. What can we do to perhaps go down that path? And not just with rhetoric to get through election time, but with serious efforts to create a citizens group, a feasibility study, a cost study, and present to the citizens both taxpayers that vote and taxpayers that just enjoy the city. What can we do? Thank you.
Chuck Kavanaugh, 10 South Brunswick. Just a comment quick. The speech is like Orwellian, hearing how great the new outfall systems are working, how wonderful they're working. What is their goal? If their goal is to drain water, standing water off the beach, we have not had any kind of rain since last summer that would have left standing water on the beach. So that is a false statement that they're working. And if you don't believe that, go to Longport, there's no standing water on the beach there. Go to Ventnor, there's no standing water on the beach there. Go near Margate, there's no standing water on the beach. So it's the thing that the Army Corps of Engineers is doing some wonderful job, and they're ahead of schedule, and the systems are working, is a false narrative that should be avoided. It's just not worth going there. I'm going to repeat the same two questions I asked last year, because I think a lot of people here want to know this. No level of government that I'm aware of anywhere had clearer direction than the Margate Commission had last year, and that was to not enter into any agreement with the Army Corps of Engineers, and we don't want outfall pipes. The citizens couldn't have been clearer to you. It was impossible that you didn't understand that. So my question is, why? Why did you enter into that agreement that you were clearly directed by the citizens not to do? That's one question. The second question, I don't expect answers today, but I think you owe the citizens an answer at some point. Second question is, since you're in clear violation of Ordinance 2001-14 that prevents you from doing this, what are you going to do about that? Certainly you're violating the spirit of the ordinance, that's clear, but I would also contend you're in verbatim violation of an ordinance in this city by signing that agreement. So I asked those two questions before you signed the agreement. I asked it right after. I've never gotten an answer. I think you owe people an answer. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Chuck. Anyone else?
Good afternoon. Glenn Klotz, 118 North Barclay Avenue. I just have a question about the outfalls. I read in the Army, in the agreement, that they based the design on a 2014 hydrologist study. Okay. I would like to know if in that study there's any mention of the placement, the fact that there's 5, first of all, I think they're much bigger than most people thought they were going to be. That's one thing, okay? But the fact that they've put them all within about a mile, they're like, I think, 0.025 miles separated, I don't know, something like that. But they're all within a mile. Do you know if there's anything in that study about what the effect is going to be on the beach? Because it seems to me the size of those things, they're going to act like groins. And they're essentially creating a groin field there that could have some really drastic effects on the beach south. And I would like to know that. I didn't see anywhere in there that report or the details of it are there.
I didn't see anything either, okay? We didn't do the design, we didn't locate them, okay? How they did locate them, I do know, is it's a series of elevation. The areas from Cedar Grove to Coolidge did not need a system because everything in those areas either goes back to the bay or goes to the outflow pipe on Monroe. So that's why they're mostly concentrated up from Vendome to Fredericksburg. There are a series of 5 pipes, outflow pipes, in the area of Gladstone to, or Granville to maybe Fredericksburg, or no, I'm sorry, or I forget, there's 5 of them off the top of my head, I'm drawing a blank, that had to be manifolded into one of the pipes, and they were much deeper than all the scuppers. And then the rest of them is just, they're more or less 5 to 6 blocks each is the drainage area.
Okay.
They designed them to a 100-year storm.
Right.
Which is where the 48-inch pipes came from.
Okay. I have one other question. We were told originally that these things were going to be essentially buried. Now, they are buried on the back of the beach and under the dune. However, okay, my concern is that, and I don't know I'd like to know what there's 3 more to be built, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so are those going to be under the beach most of the length? Because, you know, my concern is, and I think a lot of people's concern, is that they're not going to be buried. They're essentially going to be standing up like the picture that we had out there, and there's going to be a very large area of them, not just visible, but on the beach.
I would anticipate we're always going to have exposed pipes somewhere between the high and low tide line, okay? There was a lot of the beach, not a lot, but a portion of the beach that was lost as a result of the 4 nor'easters, and there is a normalization that's anticipated, and this is all what I'm being told by the Army Corps, okay? And the DEP, because they've done it many times. I'm no fan, I'll go on the record with that. But this is what, we may see a reduction in the visible pipe as the sand builds back, as the season comes on, which is normal. Our beaches get bigger in the spring and the summer. So some of those areas that are not buried now may become buried. But the Vendome one, for example, is the flat part of the beach is called the berm, okay? It is buried the entire length of the berm. Once you hit the slope between the high and the low tide line, that's where it's exposed. I don't see any way where it won't be exposed with the rest of them. You know, that's just the facts.
Is it possible, though, in the first question, that we could see that study? Or, I mean, I'm really concerned going forward that we could have a real problem. You know, we have 3 more of these to be built, and I'd like to know, did the Army do a study? Because if you put 5 groins in that area, there's got to be some kind of an effect on the beach, and it could be really detrimental to Margate going forward.
Yeah. I will ask them, okay?
Chuck, as I don't mean to interrupt you, but as I said before a few times, we're sending a letter out today. We're requesting certain information. We're requesting a meeting with them. Timing is good because sometime within the next month, they're leaving here and we'll be going for a couple months. So those, I don't know if they'll be addressed successfully, but all those issues will be addressed.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, wait.
Steve Davidson, 209 North Essex, Margate. I'll just say my 2 cents. So in the fact sheet, the outfall pipes, the Army says it's to collect the runoff from Fredericksburg to Vendome, from the ocean to Atlantic Avenue. It states that Margate had the 1 outfall pipe on Monroe Avenue that was to do Cedar Grove to Coolidge. It's about a half a mile linear length. 5 outfall pipes are to be constructed between Vendome and Douglas and all that, which is about 1.2 miles, and each one is about at least twice the size of the Monroe Avenue. Okay, so, and you're stating that I guess you built those 5 for the 100-year storm or Noah's Ark or whatever. Now, the fact sheet states that the outfall system was coordinated with the city and the state, so I guess you guys, if you're the city and the DEP, I guess you guys coordinated all that together, right?
No.
Well, it does state that. And John Amadeo, does he exist here? I don't see him. Anyway, he stated on the Dan Skeldon show that we need protection, we need to make the experience on the beach enjoyable and less disruptive. Okay, I don't think so. I think the outfall system is whatever you want to say, disruptive, can't pronounce. So we do need to see the impact study. You should have done an impact study. They should have done an impact study on these outfall pipes. I don't know, 5 pipes in that range, it does, mathematically, I don't see, why you need them that big. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, the impact study,
The Army Corps.
yeah, we need to see the study. There's got to be a mathematical formula, how much rain falls between Atlantic
There is.
Avenue and the bulk,
And-
and we'll get those numbers, and you're
Yes.
going to get those numbers. You promised to
Yes.
get those.
Just to clarify that,
Yeah.
they did do the calculations, and that's where they came up for a 100-year storm.
Yeah.
For the drainage area, that's the size.
I can't imagine any 100-year storm creating that much rain, but anyway. You need to make the walk along first of all, you bisected the beach, like we were saying about,
Excuse me. We didn't do it.
Okay, they did it.
Okay.
They bisected the beach, and made it very hard for people to get to the beach.
Agreed.
Now, you chopped it up in sections. People aren't going to be able to walk along the beach. So I guess your only choice is a boardwalk or whatever to solve that problem, because our city is just, our beach, as they say, is as you said, more is our jewel. You said that. It has been destroyed.
We're in a total agreement with you.
Okay, okay, time's up.
Thank you.
Thanks for.
Thank you, Steve.
I'll see you. Mayor.
Take care. Anyone else?
Ed Berger, 9402 Amherst Avenue. I want to not talk about the beach for a second. I want to talk about 2 of the ordinances that are on the agenda for this evening.
No, that's at the next
Did
meeting.
we discuss this already? Did Jim talk about this? No? Okay.
My
My apologies.
Yeah, there's a public hearing, you set the public hearing for that.
Sure.
Okay. Anyone else? Ma'am?
Alice Grossman, 308 North Jerome. First I want to say, the boardwalk, I thought this was more about, and I know everybody's here a lot for the boardwalk. I think that would help amazingly. Like maybe everybody that's so hurt about the beach and what's happening, that might alleviate some of the pain. Not sure. Well, my big question is, I see you're very upset about what's going on, and you're saying it's the Army and all that. Did we have a choice?
Pardon me?
Did we have a choice? No.
No.
We didn't have a choice
We
about
did
that.
not.
That's what I thought. We had no choice about the pipes and having this whole thing done.
We had no choice. We had no choice from the beginning with the dunes. Once the dunes were up, they had no viable drain, they tried their viable drainage system, which failed miserably. So they had to come up with another drainage system. Short of putting stormwater pumping stations on the beach, the only way they saw they can get water from Atlantic Avenue to the beach and off the beach was through a passive stormwater system, which is live pipes, open pipes. And that was the only way it's the only way pretty much Ocean City has to deal with it, Stone Harbor deals with it, Wildwood deals with it, Cape May City deals with it. That's how they deal with their stormwater.
But it's through the state, not necessarily through Margate.
Excuse me?
It's through the state, not necessarily
Correct, yes.
Margate.
This
So
is the
you
state and the federal
didn't really
government.
have a
Federal and
choice
the Army Corps of Engineers.
And the Army Corps of Engineers.
together. So you had to approve it
Yes,
according to what they told you they would be
Yes.
able to do.
That is correct.
yes.
Okay. I appreciate all your help and I hope you've listened to your people here in Margate. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Lindsay Tomar, 113 South Exeter. I just had a question about, you mentioned that the drainage system failed, that they put in or that they tried to put in originally. When we were at the court hearing last year, when they had the injunction for the dunes, the engineer for the Army Corps said we had some kind of phenomenon where the water level or the water table rose higher than they thought that it would. And it would take about a year to level out, and then the water would start to percolate normally. So it's been a year now. Shouldn't we have tested again before we put in a whole new system?
If they, how do I put this? If they really believed in that, they wouldn't have spent the money to do the storm pipe system. Okay?
Okay, so
That's-
on record in court,
I can't publicly say what my feelings about that statement, but if they really thought that that was going to work, they wouldn't have spent this money.
okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Hi, my name is Lou Stern. I live at 19 North Madison. I only know a little bit about what goes on in engineering. But I am a professor, I was a retired professor at Lehigh University. And I've never seen the Army Corps of Engineers do something right. And if you need 10 examples, I can give them to you. However, as I said, I live on Madison. And the problem we have with any of the storms that we've had, and I've only lived here for 30 years, the only problem we have ever had was from the bay, not from the ocean.
You're preaching to the choir.
We've stressed that to them for years, sir.
Did the people here, and again, I don't know you, okay, I just know what you have done. Did you ever think of before today, before the Army Corps of Engineers started their work, to get some engineers who knew what they were doing, okay?
Yes.
Yeah, we told, listen,
We went to court.
we went to court 3 times to stop the project. Twice it was Superior Court, once it was Federal Court.
No, twice federal, once.
Or twice federal, I'm sorry.
Okay.
And twice we were looked at like we had 3 eyes, okay? Because as far as they were concerned, the judge, the Army Corps walked on the water that they work on, and we knew nothing. Now, prior to them even doing the dunes, we told them what they were proposing was going to be catastrophic. They did the dunes.
And
it
they
was
found out it
catastrophic.
was
catastrophic.
Yes.
Okay. and, you know, I can express my personal opinion. I did not want the dunes, okay? I didn't want the storm system, okay?
Okay.
But we were forced, it was so frustrating going to court, and I'm not just talking to this gentleman, I want everyone to realize, and I don't like going to court, trust me, okay? It was frustrating the way we were looked at, okay? And the Army Corps made statements, the DEP made statements, which I disagreed with, but that's who they ruled in favor of. We were told we're getting them and that's it. Yeah, and it's all on the website, our website.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Emily Zayden, 6 South Decatur. Okay, the outfall pipes. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's gonna bring the water, the stagnant water, behind the dunes, parts of Atlantic Avenue, the beach blocks, through the pipe, dumping it into the water.
Not exactly.
Okay, because, you know, there's some concern with us with the quality of the water, the debris, the feces, the bugs, whatever, being taken there.
The water will never get to the beach from the streets.
Okay,
Okay, never get to the area between the dune and those scuppers, once the system is active,
Okay.
will be closed off.
got it.
Then the low areas will be filled, okay, so that the water doesn't collect back there. The water will be from the center line of Atlantic Avenue to the bulkhead, will travel down the gutter lines the same as it does, go into 2 inlets which connect together.
Got it.
A pipe then goes out to a header pipe that runs parallel with the dune, behind the dune. And then one outfall pipe out to the wet area of the beach.
Okay, so it's not like there's gonna be an ongoing flow of water.
No, it'll only be during a rainstorm.
Okay.
And at the end of each one of those pipes is a large check valve to try to reduce, you know, the times when we have dry weather, high tide flooding. It will reduce that, okay?
Okay, thank you.
What's that?
Art Cotilli, 114 North Lancaster Avenue. It looks to me like at the very beginning we made a mistake. We're talking about designing to a 100-year storm. That's not what you want to do. You don't want to design to the maximum.
We didn't.
Well, whoever did.
The Army Corps, correct.
But
They
see, if you
decided
have an
we
average storm, you look at an average storm, and then you say, well, I'll go 80% more. Now, if your 100-year storm comes, okay, it's going to take something with it. But you certainly have attenuated it quite a bit with the things you did for 80% of more than the average. But the design for the maximum, that's what's killing everybody. You need extra large pipes, you need extra high dunes.
And I agree with you. However, in order for the Army Corps to get the project funded, again, they're the ones who chose the 100-year storm.
Yeah,
The reason they chose it is because that's what at least this is how it was relayed to me. They're required to design to that storm to justify utilizing tax dollars to federal tax dollars to create this system. That's because we had talked to them about a reduction in size, but they have to design to a 100-year storm because that's their standard for flood protection before they can get the money.
Well, that's 50 years is a generation, so that's like 2 generations. And if you're here, you're a person at the shore, and you expect some damage from a 100-year storm. You don't design to withstand no damage from a 100-year storm.
Okay.
That has to be crazy.
Thank you, Art.
Hi, Marvin Weinstein, 7 North Osborne Avenue. I'll be very brief. I've lived there for 30 years, and what's been done is done. I'm not sure there's much you can do about it. But what you can do, if you could, is the access to the beach for people my age and people like the lady that was here before that had some very, very serious issues. What I would suggest is that each of you or somebody, you designate somebody to walk every beach, to get on, to see how the access is from Osborne Avenue to the beach, from Vendome to the beach, walk at everybody, one person, walk and see how difficult it might be and do something about it. You can't do anything about the drains, you can't do anything about anything else, but maybe you can do something about making it easier for people like me, to get to the beach. I'm the house schlepper. I take all the stuff to the beach, I take all the chairs to the beach, I would let them on a cart, and I schlep it down to the beach. I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to do that anymore. I'm not sure I'm gonna buy a beach tag. I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to use a beach. That's how I feel. And what you need to do, you're stuck with what you have, but please, please, please look at every single street and see what the access is and see whether you can improve the access. Maybe it's the footing, maybe it's the boards that go across the access, maybe there's rubber mats, maybe there's things you can do that can make it easier for people like me, to get to the beach.
We will do that, Mr. Owens.
Thank you.
You've already started.
Mitchell Tree, 9 North Franklin. My biggest complaint is I live across the street from Jay, and I can't get any ice cream when it runs out on my section. In all seriousness, as a former CPA and CFO, do we have any right to audit? Audit the expenses of the Army Corps of Engineers. I mean, it was taxpayer money, right? Who knows what the expense was? They constantly redid and did rework. I don't know, is it West Marine, the subcontractor?
Weeks, there was a week's notice.
I don't know if there were
There's a
change
beach
orders
bill.
in there, but I don't know what the initial bid was, and I don't know what the change orders are. Don't know where this money went. Do we, as a township, have the right to audit, number one? And number two, as a taxpayer, how do we see the actual expenditures versus budget? That's not for answer here, but
I
I
understand.
understand the question.
It's a very, very interesting. And I hope your ice cream situation improves, sir.
Well, right now, I'm not allowed to have any ice cream.
Anyone else?
Ken Rose, 509 North Union Avenue. I was away for the winter, and I was surprised when I got back to see the difference in the grade of the beach between the bulkhead and the dune. And my question is, would it be possible now with that grade level for the water to perk coming through the scuppers, and we wouldn't need the pipes to put it in front of the bulkhead or in front of the dune?
It improved somewhat when they refilled. Initially, they had excavated the grade to elevation 4.5 on 1988 datum. That was their plan. The entire city between the dune and the bulkhead would be excavated. Now, in some areas it was a foot, in some areas it was 3.5 feet.
Yep.
Okay. We had a storm, major storm, but nothing any different than we have all summer. We had a foot of standing water for weeks after that. They finally realized they were wrong, okay? Even though they told the judge they were right. They came back and they filled. They filled a couple feet of sand. We still had wet sand. We still had, because they could only fill up to the bottom of the scuppers. And the scuppers vary with the street elevations, and the street elevations, for example, Fredericksburg, the street elevation may be close to 10. You go to Douglas Avenue, which is not that far, and it's elevation 4.5. Okay. What would happen since they built the dune is you would have several areas of beach that were fine, and many areas of beach, the low beach, that would be constantly wet. Okay. The water would come across at Barclay, for example, and it would flow onto the beach, and then since it cannot go past the dune, it's going to migrate with the gradient, down gradient to say Douglas Avenue. It would always be wet there. Okay, that is the reason, and I know the one gentleman didn't believe me, that is the reason there was a storm system had to be installed.
Well,
Okay.
I understand that.
And your thought is a valid thought. It's just It will help, some of it would have been okay, and some of it is okay right now.
Yeah.
Some of it is not. That's why they have the emergency pumps put in. And they run with a float system that as soon as the water level gets where you don't even see it on the beach, they start pumping.
Yeah, I only looked at the beach at Quincy, but I don't know what, if they increase the grade further up the beach to the level that it is at Quincy.
Between Rumson and Vendome, for example, it's been increased to 7.5. Okay, but the scuppers are below that. So what would happen is the water would just hit the scuppers, go into the sand, and flood the street for 3 or 4 days before it will go away.
Okay.
Okay?
As I remember, in a
Thank,
lot of
sir.
the places.
Thank you.
One of the.
Okay, please, go ahead.
Some of the places where the scuppers were, there was a hole there. It was deeper.
Right.
And it would make it easier to absorb that water.
We had a very simple system with dealing with our water, and that was Frank, and not that you're simple, Frank. Frank and his guys, after a storm, would open them up and let the water flow.
Yeah.
Okay? That was it.
Yeah. All right, I just thought I would express my
Okay,
feelings.
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Dan Loughlin, 120 South Jefferson. I apologize, I missed the first part of the meeting, so I'm talking about something out of turn. The Brigantine design, where they have the diverted pathways to the beach, is that a option we could talk about or consider? It feels like we continue to build on top of this thing, we're just kind of making things worse.
We proposed that to the Army Corps and the DEP, and they said, oh, it's pretty, no. Okay?
So what is our path forward now with them? Is it, are we continuing to discuss things with them or not?
The mayor, yes.
I know, Jeff, we're preparing a letter to be sent tomorrow, asking, amongst other things, for them to come and sit with us, sit with the public, and answer questions.
Yeah.
So we hope that they'll be able to do that, and we'll see.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Last call.
I need name and address.
Come to the
please.
microphone, ma'am. Sorry, name and address.
Lisa McLeod, and my address is 9501 Pacific. But my question is this: why is Mr. Kavanaugh so upset with you per se, when it sounds like you're doing everything you can
Is he still here?
to help
again?
us? I don't know,
I'd like to ask the
but
same question.
I've been asking that for a few years.
Thank you.
Hi, Patricia Costello, 9400 Atlantic Avenue in the Margate Towers. I'm between Adams and Jefferson. Adams has no handicapped entrance anymore. I know that you said you're going to put some kind of walkover or whatever. Come the 30th of this month, I would love to go to the beach even though I am partially handicapped. I cannot walk 10 steps up, 10 steps down, and then hike the hill.
The handicap pass-through is there.
I know, I saw
Okay.
it.
They are supposedly going to install, as per the letter I received yesterday, they're going to put a temporary walkway, because that's where they're storing the sand.
Oh, yes.
Okay. That's all I know at this point. I don't know what type of temporary walkway, I don't know what grade it'll be, but they assured us they were going to do that. They've assured us of a lot of things, but they were assured us that they were going to do that. I don't know what it's going to look like. We'll try to pay as much attention to it as we can. We have this much control over them. They do what they feel they're entitled to do. Okay. So I'll ask, I have a contact with the Army Corps that's generally very frank with me. I will talk to him and ask him, what is it going to look like? Is there going to be a Moby mat over that whole over
Is
that
that the
whole
blue
opening.
mats? Is that what they call them?
The blue mats.
Okay,
yes.
well,
I
there is
don't
blue
know what-
mats there now, except it's 20 foot in the air.
Yeah. Well,
The other day, they came with small bobcats.
That was, we did that, the city did
The city
that.
did
Okay,
Trying
well,
to
whomever.
alleviate the problem. But there was a meeting subsequent to that with Commissioner Amadeo, and the Army Corps was there, the DEP was there, and there was a brisk discussion about what needed to be done there. So I'm hoping that was effective. They're in the process now, they finished the pipe work, they're in the process now of trying to get all the, and they're focusing from Coolidge down first to get those, the messy crossovers, or where there aren't, get them at least so that people can get on the beach this summer.
Right.
That's what I know.
Because there's no way I can go to the beach from that entrance.
I understand. I
Or
was there, there was a
Jefferson.
6-foot cliff there.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's a sheer, and the blue mat's on top of the sheer, but there's no way
Well,
anybody
they're gonna
can
cut
do
that
it.
way down.
I
Okay.
don't know where they're gonna put all that sand.
On the sides.
Oh, God. All right, thank
Okay,
you.
thanks.
Okay.
No. You're the only one here that does.
Ellen Lichtenstein again, 411 North Exeter. I either have a ridiculous harebrained question or some sort of stroke of genius. Are the citizens of the city allowed to band together to sue the Army Corps of Engineers? Yeah, but we did it on your shoulders. What if we took it off your shoulders?
There were, yeah.
Class action suit.
Let me know, I'll join.
Okay, you already know who I am, right?
No, you gotta say it again.
Say it again.
Sir, Hal Augustine, 8 North Pembroke. So in the old days, before the dunes, when the water laid on the back of the beach, you guys came with bulldozers and you carved your little groove, the water ran out, and then you put the sand back. Okay. So, given the impact that the pipes have on our beaches and our ability to transgress from block to block, what would have stopped the having the pipes end where the dunes are? And when we have that big rush of rain and whatever else, you still have the equipment, I presume, and you do whatever you have to do, and you put the sand back.
Use the mic, Ed.
I'm sorry. Due to the elevation of the beach, the design of the berm is at 7.75. So the dry area, that flat, large dry area, is well above the street ends. So you couldn't put a piping system. They had to run the pipe at a minimum slope as far as it took to get it to actually what they call daylight. It had a daylight to get the water out of it. So you couldn't, and we've talked about that also. It's not a bad idea. It's just, it's purely the fact that the dune and the berm are so high. And once they do their design, I think God comes down and tells them it's okay because they seem to only report to God. But that's what it is, okay?
So there's no option for that?
No,
Thank you, sir.
Ken Davidson, 8015 Monmouth Avenue. You guys keep talking about the elevation or with the piping. Was it done on the specs of Coolidge Avenue and the one that brings, it's supposed to do such a great area between Coolidge and Cedar Grove? But when I go walking on the beach, that's never an issue. That pipe is never an issue. So when they went to go and do this one, the two that are there, did they do it based on the replenishment that they did? Or did they do it based on the height of the sand down on Coolidge back in the 60s?
No, what they did was based on the impervious area that drains, where no water percolates, within the drainage area. That's how they size the pipe. They take a 100-year storm, which is 7.8 inches in a 24-hour period, and then they calculate, it's a
ridiculous.
complex. Anyway, the pipe on Monroe is grossly undersized, okay, according to current drainage standards. They cannot spend and just say, I'm not defending them, I'm just giving you the facts that I know. They cannot spend federal dollars, because they are looked at, unless it meets current drainage, what they have established, their standards. In reality, the pipe on Monroe probably should have been increased in size. They would not do that, because their policy says if it's there, we can only extend it to the portion that we've impacted it.
Okay.
So I think they extended it about 400 feet.
So, now, I wasn't here for the first part. Was the city able to get an answer on the boardwalk from the government or anybody that you have to ask about?
Not at this point.
No, not yet.
And can we push them to get an answer for that?
Probably not.
I mean,
You have
come
no
on.
idea how frustrating this all is.
Yeah, I know.
You have no idea.
I mean,
When
you know.
Mr. Wahlberg made that original call, which was within, the meeting was on a Thursday, we called there on Monday.
Yes.
And they had no idea where to even direct us. Have they ever gotten back to you since?
The phone call people haven't. We took it upon ourselves to pick some department heads that we felt
Wait.
land use regulation, CAFRA, we sent them letters asking,
Well,
what is your?
why don't we push them a little bit and say, can we put this up for a vote in the city? And if the vote says yes, let's just start.
Ken,
We'll be sure to get back to us.
You have no idea how frustrating this is. A week after that, first of all, they wanted to have a pre-construction meeting. We don't even have a design yet. What are you talking about? So I'm on the beach inspecting Drainage System 5 when someone very high up in the DEP walked up to me and said, "Hi, Mike, how are you?" I said, "I'm fine, how are you?" He says, "I hear you want a boardwalk." I said, "That's what we're looking for." He says, "Well, I'm telling you right now, don't ask us for any money." So that's what happened. So these are tough battles that we fight. Okay, I'm not, and we're not stopping. Listen, hey, let me tell you, everybody, I don't want the dunes. I love the beach. I said they're going to ruin our beaches forever in lots of meetings with them.
Yeah.
They don't care.
No, they obviously don't. On your beach, they stuck a mound of sand at the end of it doesn't make sense. On Kenyon.
Do you think it was personal?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, just like they stuck the dune on Nassau. I don't know why.
No.
I have no idea.
Government.
But anyway, question is this meeting only about dunes, or can I ask about stop signs on Essex and
next
meeting?
Or is that next meeting? I really don't know.
Yeah.
Yes? No?
Next meeting. The
Okay.
beginning of the first public comment session of the next meeting.
Okay.
Which should be within
Another
5
hour.
minutes after this
Okay.
meeting.
The next thing is, well, if I can't, then at least, since tomorrow morning, everybody get ready. Because it's going to be flooding on Winchester and Granville and down on Adams and Washington. Can we get all those drains going towards the beach now? Since we have a 100-year drainage system that it could clean up Ventnor Avenue, Castles will be happy, Winchester will be happy, Adams will be happy. You know, cool. Washington Avenue will be happy. Let's get them all going back.
Are you going to be happy? Anyone else? Motion to close public comment.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mayor Becker,
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo, Commissioner Blumberg.
Yes.
Is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Mayor Becker,
Yes.
Commissioner Blumberg.
Yes.
5 minutes, we'll go into our regular business meeting.
Good job.